Alright, in this video I'm going to show you various ways you can take an image. For example, here I have the CraftMath logo getting animated, and then we can take this butterfly here, animate that, and then finally I'm taking this Nodes 3 logo and we are exploding it. These are just 3 ways of an infinite number of possibilities of animating an image using YanoBox Nodes 3. So inside of Apple Motion, I already have the Nodes 3 generator loaded up, and a way to animate an image using Nodes 3 is to go underneath the Form tab. For the form itself, let's select From Image Colors. This gives us a well to drop an image inside of, but notice we don't have one in there, yet it's still showing an image. Well, by default, if you do not have an image loaded up, the red component is going to display the world map. If we come to green, it's going to display what's called a line structure, and you can actually adjust this as well. And then finally for the blue, we have the nodes title here. Now we can adjust the size of all this as well too, so notice that. And if I come back and select the red for the world, we can clearly see that's a world map. And then just checking out that green channel a little bit more, a line structure. But let's load up our own image. So let's go ahead and go to File, and let's import an image. So I've loaded up my CraftMath logo. You can load up any image you want, and I'm just going to uncheck that box. We don't want to see it there, but we do want to drag this into the well. So now we have that image being produced using nodes. I'm going to slide that size on down a little bit so we can see it. And now let me just show you a few quick things you can do to fine tune this. If we slide the resolution up, we can get more nodes. This may look a little bit jumbled up, but if we come down to the node size and we slide that size on down, notice we can see each individual node. As a matter of fact, if I slide the size up, you can see that there are individual nodes that make up this image. Sliding the size back on down. And by adjusting this resolution here, we can get a really detailed image using just nodes. We can slide this up even higher, say 30. Now be careful with how high you go. I think the limit is somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000 nodes or particles with Nodes 3. So with the resolution set to 30 here, there are a bunch of nodes in here. And you can see how it does pretty much fill in that logo that I originally loaded up. I'm going to slide that resolution down just for playback. Let's go to somewhere around 15, and I'm going to slide the size back on up, maybe to around 5. We'll look at some of these other settings right here in a second, but let me show you one way that you can go ahead and animate this logo. Let's come up to the oscillator and let's add a wave. I'll leave the oscillation axis set to radial. And now what we're going to do here is we're going to create a wave. And one of the characteristics of a wave is the amplitude. This is how tall the wave gets. And you can see with me dragging this slider that we have some crazy effects already going on. Imagine keyframing this alone. That will give you some nice effects. Now I'm going to set the amplitude to something a little bit more subtle, say 10. And you can see a wave effect going on. Now with that subtle wave, how do we animate this? It's going to be the oscillator evolution, and we can come back in here and adjust the period as well right here in a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to animation, and for destination 1, let's select oscillator evolution. And if we play this, you're not even going to see anything happening because we have to adjust the speed. So let me bump the speed up to 20, and you can still barely see the wave moving. Let's set this up to something higher, say 300. Now you can clearly see a wave. We are animating the oscillator evolution, and if we come in here and adjust the amplitude, we can make this wave higher. So that's 15. Let's bump it on up to say 30. And with just us animating the oscillator evolution, you can see that we do have this wave effect. So this is one effect that we can apply to an image. Some other things you can do inside of here, if the waves are too close together, we can adjust what's called the period of the wave. If I lower the oscillator period down to 5, the waves will be farther apart. We could actually adjust the amplitude up even higher now. But notice the distance between these waves is farther. If I set this up to something higher, say 15, you may think of this as the frequency. The waves are a lot closer together, but this is referred to as the oscillator period. So this is just one way you can animate an image. Let me go ahead and reset all of this, and we can look at other ways of animating images as well. You may recognize this butterfly from the intro video, and I picked this up over at pixabay.com. And just like with the logo, we can load this butterfly image up into Motion. But what I've also done is I've came and I've created a white body for that butterfly. I downloaded the vector file and then I loaded that up in Affinity Designer and I applied a white body to the butterfly, and I'm going to go ahead and load that one up. And now, just like with the logo, we want to put this in that image well. So I'm going to hide it, head back into Nodes 3, and since I did reset everything, I have to come back and select the From Image Colors, and let's drag that butterfly into the well. So there's our butterfly. Let's bump the size on up. Now, we do not want white nodes here, so something we can select now is we can use Image Colors. I want to make that node size smaller again, maybe somewhere down around 2. Now this looks like a dull image, but if we slide the resolution on up, it does brighten things up a little bit. Now by me sliding it up too high, it kind of chops the image off. So let's try somewhere around 15. That looks pretty good. Now we're missing some of those colors, aren't we? So let's head over to the component and let's do luminance. We're still missing colors. So we can adjust the threshold down on this luminance to bring in more of those colors. By sliding that threshold down to 0, we get pretty much the same image. We have a high resolution with a bunch of nodes, and their size is relatively small. As a matter of fact, if I bump this down to 1, or maybe even 0.5, it appears to make the image dull, but there's actually a space in between each individual node here. So by making it somewhere around 2, essentially the nodes are kind of overlapping, which is fine. And now let's animate the nodes. Let's pull these nodes off the butterfly. But before I do that, I'm actually going to come to the butterfly itself, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of rotation so that we can see the butterfly from its side, kind of like what you saw at the beginning of the video. Rotation X, -60, and the Z also set to -60 degrees as well. So now bear in mind, this is a bunch of individual nodes, and we can displace these nodes based on their luminance. So what you can see here is that the nodes are getting displaced, they're getting moved based on their luminance. In a nutshell, essentially what's happening here, the brighter that node is, the more it's going to get pulled up. But since we have center displacement, if I cut that center displacement off, the butterfly was originally here, and then the brighter nodes are getting displaced higher. But by choosing center displacement, it's going to appear to slice some nodes up and some nodes down, which is fine. Little tip here, I'm going to rotate this on the y-axis 180 degrees. So now our butterfly is on the bottom and these displaced nodes are up top. Maybe set my rotation Z to +60 so we can get pretty much the same angle that we have here. And I tell you what, just for the sake of playback, I'm going to bump the resolution down to 10 just so I can scrub this and you can see that animating. Maybe even lower. I'm just doing this for playback, and let me take the size and raise it up to 5. And I'm only adjusting the resolution and size so that I can scrub this a little bit more. But if we keyframe the displacement, you can get that effect of where the nodes are getting pulled off the butterfly. And then that final animation that I showed you of the nodes logo exploding, let me just use the butterfly to show you this as well. I'm going to set that displacement back to 0 and reset all of my rotations. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come up to the oscillator again. I'm going to select random. So we're going to randomly move these nodes. And again, just for sake of playback, I'm going to lower this resolution down even lower. By me lowering that resolution, we have a lower amount of nodes here. Take the size, raise it on up to 10 just so that we can see that butterfly, just to brighten things up. But essentially we're squishing nodes together, so to speak. And now back up here to this oscillator set to random radial. If we adjust the amplitude, check out this effect. If we set the axis to X, Y, Z, it's going to explode the butterfly, so to speak. And that was the effect that I did to that Nodes 3 logo. Now there's tons of things that I could show you with this as well. If we come down to the Nodes color, as well as the Nodes menu itself, if we set the Nodes type, let's do a glowing shape, or maybe even a soft shape. Come on down here to the Nodes color and let's set that to add. And using just one setting here, the bulb radius, if we raise that bulb radius up, we can really change the way this looks. And just to finish things off here, I would come up to the Animate menu. Let's do the Oscillator Amplitude. I'm going to slide the amplitude itself in the Oscillator menu back to 0, and we'll animate that using the Animation menu. Set the speed up to, let's try 300 and see what happens, and let's give it a play. That exploded way too fast. Maybe 20. And you can see some of those nodes in here with that bulb radius, that soft shape that we did down here in the, what was it, the nodes menu, soft shape. But yeah, there you have it. Quick ways to take an image, import that image into Motion, and then with the Yenobox Nodes 3 plugin, underneath the form, from image colors, load that image up, and these are just 3 of an infinite number of ways that you can animate an image using Nodes 3. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. And that's it for this video. I hope it helped.